All right, good evening. Welcome. Let's do the committees first. We've got the Audit and the Employment and Compensation Committee first. The chairman is Lester Petracca, and if you call your committee to order, we can move on.
Okay, is there the minutes here?
Yes. They're the ones without the plastic cover. They should be
Okay.
in your pile.
So
Yes.
I want to get the right, thank you, I want to get the right date on the minutes, I'm sorry. Okay. Today's December 18th, 2023. I would like to call the Nassau County Interim Finance Authority Employment and Compensation Committee to order. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our first order of business and our only order of business is the approval of the minutes of the
I'll make that
employment and
motion.
compensation. Good. Do I have a second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
So it's unanimous.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, now we go to governance. I'd like to temporarily appoint Lester Petracca as a member of the governance committee. So it would consist of myself, Mo, and Lester. Oh, we don't have a chairman.
You can act as chair.
I'll act as
Yeah,
chair.
yeah.
All right, do I have a motion to
Yeah,
open the
I'll
governance
move.
committee?
I'll move.
Second?
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We want to approve the minutes of the governance committee held on July 13th, 2023.
So moved?
Second? Any
Second.
questions, comments,
No, I'm sorry.
corrections? Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the minutes carry. Evan, you want to introduce the self-evaluation?
Yes, sure.
Oh, there you
Is there a question? So, action item 2, the 2009 Public Authorities Reform Act requires the board of every state and local public authority to conduct an annual evaluation of its performance. The annual assessment is a reminder to each board member of his or her duties, why those responsibilities are important, and whether they are performing their duties appropriately. On April 20th of 2011, the directors adopted a model board evaluation tool, which was developed by the authority's budget office. This evaluation was readopted on November 17th, 2022. You are being requested to adopt the model board evaluation, which is attached to your committee materials and distributed to the entire board. The evaluation should be completed by each director confidentially and returned to the chairman of the governance committee, who will compile and forward the results to the authority's budget office. The board's discussion of its performance can be conducted in executive session if you were to choose. If not, you can limit your action tonight to just approving this self-evaluation form.
Mr. Chairman, you accept a question from a non-committee member?
go. Yes, absolutely.
What's the due date for it, and will it be electronic, or does this need to be filled out by hand? Or is there a,
Well, it's supposed to be done before year end.
okay. Got it.
That's next week.
It is.
So I'll move to approve the form.
I'll second. Any other comments? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Any other business? Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn
So moved.
the governance committee? I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Chris, Audit and Internal Controls Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to call to order a meeting of the Nassau County Interim Finance Authority Audit and Internal Controls Committee. I'll note that all 4 members, Mr. Maggi, Mr. Petracca, Chairman Kessel, and myself are present. I would ask for a motion to convene the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. The meeting is convened. We'll also note the presence of all the other members of the board who are here present tonight for the meeting. In the event that this matter comes up before the full board, we won't necessarily repeat ourselves because we'll have discussed it in committee. I would also say that members who are not members of the committee are welcome to ask questions at this time to avoid having to repeat it later if you have any. With that, we have the approval of the minutes of the prior meeting. Would somebody like to move their approval?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'll say that as well. I probably should have asked if there were any additions, corrections, or deletions, but since you all voted for it, I'm going to assume you didn't have any. Okay. With that, we have another item on the agenda, which is to approve a revised 2024 budget, not for the county, but for NIFA. It's NIFA's budget that is a part of the county's budget. We have an amendment to make because of some movement in some of the line items, and we'd like to do that before the end of the year. So I'll turn it over to Carl.
Thank you and good evening. In this action item, we're requesting board approval to revise NIFA's adopted 2024 budget and 2024 through 2027 financial plan. When we prepared the 2024 budget, which was adopted by the board in September 2023, we did not anticipate an extended engagement with the healthcare consulting firm Alvarez & Marsal to continue monitoring the Nassau Healthcare Corporation's financial condition. Since their financial condition is not substantially improved over the course of A&M's current engagement, during which A&M identified potential threats in 2024, we're requesting to extend their engagement to utilize A&M's guidance and resources that may not otherwise be available to NHCC. As a result, I'm requesting that we increase our 2024 budget by $350,000 from $2,750,000 to $3.1 million for 2024. All other components of our budget remain as originally proposed and approved. As always, we will withhold from sales tax revenue which we need to pay our expenses. Any savings from lower spending will be passed on to the county as we've done in the past. Can I answer any questions?
I guess on the other hand, we lowered the budget for this year in professional fees because we weren't going to spend as much on labor council at our last meeting, right? So kept it
We
about
kept
even.
that the same. What we've
Okay.
done is we've provided for 3 months.
Okay, but not a full year's worth.
Right.
Okay,
not a
good.
full year.
So we're still well within limits. I don't have any other questions. Any committee members have a question?
So any actual surpluses just get carried forward into the next year?
Any budget savings?
Yeah.
Basically get passed through back to the county.
Yeah,
If we
we
spend less than
Then
what
restore it.
what
Yep.
we need to spend.
It's a not to exceed. Okay. It's a not to exceed as of now, anyway.
Right, that's
Okay.
correct.
Any other questions? Would somebody like to move to approve the
So moved.
revised budget?
Second.
It's been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any members from the non-committee members have questions?
No.
I'll vote aye as well. The motion is passed. The item is adopted. We now, I think, have a call-in visitor.
Yes.
Okay, that should be interesting. The acoustics in the room being generally wonderful, low ceiling.
During this
Lots of
committee,
carpeting.
in reference to
Yeah,
this
for the
committee.
audit, this is
Okay,
for
got
the
it.
audit committee
Okay.
plan for next year. We're going to hear from our external auditors from RSM regarding their audit plan for NIFA, not for the county, which is required under generally accepted auditing standards to do a pre-meeting with boards prior to setting the scope. So I believe they are online and engaged. Is Jen Katz?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
No, I just don't know where your voice is coming from. Yes, I can hear you. There you are. Oh, look at that. It's a box. Wait. Okay.
All right. Good evening to the board and committee members. So we are here to present our plan, scope, and timing for the 2023 audit. I do want to mention before we kick off some of the required communications. I'll be joined this year by an additional member of our team who will be helping me in the role of engagement leader, Kristen Hughes. Kristen, I'll just let you take a quick minute to introduce yourself to the committee members.
Sure. Thank you, Jen. Thank you all for letting me join this evening as well. As Jen mentioned, I will be working with the audit team this year on the engagement. Just a little background. I'm a senior director with RSM. I've been with the firm for almost 15 years now. Similar to Jen, I work in our state and local government practice year-round, and so that's where my background sits as well, similar to her experience. Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome to the audit
Great.
team.
Thank you.
So want to kick it off by reiterating communication is extremely important, making sure that there's open lines of communication as we're performing the audit. Any significant matters that you're aware of, please bring to our attention. And in turn, anything significant that we become aware of while we're performing the audit, we will let you know as well.
And as we've discussed in the past,
yeah.
you're well aware that in the event that management is unresponsive, you have redress through the audit committee or any other member of the board.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Good.
Along those lines with integrity and significant matters, we also have a responsibility, a shared responsibility regarding independence to make sure that nothing arises that would impact RSM's ability to maintain our independence. So any changes you're aware of, significant transactions or other changes as you see listed here in the materials, please let us know immediately so that we can evaluate for any impact or potential impact on our independence. But at this time, we're not aware of any matters that would impair that independence.
Can I pause and ask management if they're aware of any, real quick? You're not aware of
No,
any as well?
No, we're not.
Carl? Council? Thank you. Okay, good.
Our overall audit plan will be fairly consistent with prior years, so I won't go through all of that in detail, but I do want to highlight we perform our procedures using a concept of materiality, so that's to obtain reasonable, not absolute assurance. So we do tests based on materiality, looking at a sample of items, not 100% of your transactions during the year. There are areas where we will focus our efforts during the audit. That will be our significant risk areas. Similar with prior years, management override of controls and fraudulent revenue recognition are always presumed significant risks on audits. And then we also have in here just the significant accounting estimates related to the calculation of the OPEB. That's because an outside actuarial specialist is involved, and there are a lot of complex estimates that go into calculating that number. Otherwise, Kristen, I'm going to turn it over to you just to go over a few closing matters.
Sure, thank you. In addition, in the letter, as she mentioned, in addition to the scope and timing, so our planned timing at this time to kick off the audit, as you'll see noted in there, is preliminary audit work will take place the week of January 22nd. As a reminder, when we say prelim, that's where we're going through and working with management to make sure, we have an understanding if there were any significant changes in their processes, controls, et cetera, and then really jumping into the heart of the audit work there in that mid-February timeframe as we work through the trial balance and what we call our substantive audit testing on the numbers themselves. In addition, when we talk about the general scope, you'll see included in the materials accounting pronouncements. So in another item thinking through that could impact the scope of the audit is each year GASB, FASB are often releasing new accounting pronouncements. And so management will evaluate those new standards and any potential impact on the financial statements. For the current fiscal year to be audited, there is a new GASB statement 96. It's subscription-based information technology arrangements. So it is very comparable to the lease standard that was implemented by organizations last year, but it's more specific to those IT arrangements. So at this time, we would not expect a significant impact on the financial statements, but knowing that management is going through and taking that into consideration, any potential arrangements that could fall within the scope of that, and then we will evaluate their conclusions as well.
And Carl, I'm sorry, we don't really, we mostly use off the state contract, right, for software, or is anything proprietary? We don't have any. Okay, so it should be fairly easy to adopt.
The 96 is not going to apply.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Good.
No, you're fine. You're fine. And then you'll see in the letter as well, there's another one. I wasn't going to touch upon it because it's not effective for this current year being audited, but there is another upcoming standard relating to compensated absences. And then in the event, there's accounting for error corrections and how to run those through the financial statements. So you'll just see some content on those as well.
Cool.
So at this time, we do also like to hold our kickoff fraud inquiries with you just to see if there's anything at this time that we need to be aware of as we start planning our audit.
I'll allow silence to speak for the board and just say that on my part, if we had any concerns about that, we would have discussed them before this meeting. Anyone else? Okay. I think that's just for your records. All heads nodded no.
Great, thank you. So that does conclude our presentation.
Well, thank you. Thank you for accommodating us this evening, and we look forward to. We've had a great relationship with your audit team. It's nice that we've seen people promoted on the engagement over the years, and the addition of new members. And hopefully, that's been a valuable relationship for you as well. We look forward to our closing meeting early in the new year, and as I mentioned earlier, At any point during the course of the audit, if there's any issues regarding the audit or management's responses to your questions, you are able to reach out to any member of the audit committee or any member of the board to seek an answer. Any other questions of the board for the auditors?
Yeah, I just have a question. How do you account for our relationship with the county? And is anything that the county does or doesn't do part of this audit?
So the authority's financial statements are ultimately reported as part of the county's annual report as a blended component unit. But for purposes of the authority, this is a standalone audit, and the only transactions we would be looking at are anything flowing out from NIFA to the county. So we do audit the disbursements that are made, but information of the county typically would not roll up into NIFA.
So we're treated as a standalone and audited on that basis and then rolled into the county's results.
So, excuse me, I'm sorry. So the NIFA audit is part of the county's overall audit, but separate?
Yeah.
But
In
separate?
fact, separate
Correct.
auditors. We don't even have the same auditors anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And who is that reported to ultimately? I know we have to report to the state budget office, but who is the audit reported to?
It's reported to the controller.
It goes to the state controller as well, yeah, and the county controller. Yeah. And it becomes part of the county's comprehensive financial report too.
So I'm sorry, just because I'm new to this. So if the county funds NIFA, all of that is that is why we are included in the county audit?
It's vice versa, where we fund the county. We get all the sales tax first and send it to
And
them.
then we send it back to the county.
Yeah, so it's vice versa. We subtract what we need to run the organization, 3.1 million, and send the other billion to the county.
All right, thank you.
Plus that.
Plus debt service and
Okay.
yeah, stuff like that, so. And we actually earn money on our vital cash, and the county gets that too. We've won judgments on settlements and lawsuits and given the county special payments on that too, so. Any dollar we get and any dollar we don't spend, the county gets.
Right.
Passes through.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for the auditors? Thank you for your presentation. Would anybody like to move to adjourn the Audit and Internal Controls Committee meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye,
I vote aye as well. The committee is adjourned. Mr. Chairman, the full meeting is yours.
thank you.
Can you pass this
Thank
out
you to the, they're not, they don't, are they gonna stay?
The auditors, I think, are, unless you'd like to stay, you're welcome to drop at will. And have a nice
Thank you.
evening.
Good evening.
you.
Great holidays.
You too.
Happy holidays.
Thank you, happy holiday. All right, I'll call to order the meeting of the NIFA Board of Directors. First of all, take a roll call of the board, starting from my left.
Mo Mexi?
Lester Petracca.
Richard Kessel.
Chris Wright.
John Zazo.
Charo Esdran.
All right, so we do obviously have a quorum. First, a couple of simple things to do. Approval of the minutes of the directors' meeting on November 6th. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Dr. Zasso, is there a second?
Second.
Chris Wright, second. Are there any changes to the minutes, corrections, or omissions that need to be recognized? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, I want to take number 2 because we just discussed it. Approving the submission of NIFA's revised 2024 budget and revised 2024 to 2027 financial plan to both the authority's budget office and the Office of the State Controller. Chris?
Mr. Chairman, at a meeting that just concluded, the Audit and Internal Controls Committee approved unanimously a revised NIFA-only budget to include certain professional fees that we will require for our hospital consultants. I move that the full board approve that as well.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion on the part of the board?
Should note,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, that all board members were present for the committee meeting.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? With the board's permission, I'd like to, because I don't want to hold him here, move down to number 9, consideration of issuance of general obligation bonds of the county. Is that okay with the board?
Yes.
Just because we do have a speaker from the county, I don't want to hold them up all night. All right, so Connell, you want to make the presentation, and then we can put the resolution before us, and then Andy, you can come and speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. This item is, excuse me, consideration of the issuance of general obligation bonds by the county. The county has informed NYFA of its desire to raise money to pay for certain general and sewer capital projects in the amount of approximately $44.65 million plus cost of issuance through the sale of general obligation bonds. The county is seeking NYFA's approval as required during the control period. The amount requested and the debt service are consistent with the county's 2024 through 27 multi-year financial plan and its borrowing assumptions. And the county has indicated that all of the projects have bond ordinances approved by the county legislature. The county has also informed us that it currently plans to issue the bonds in the first half of 2024, but it has the need to reimburse itself for expenditures already made in fiscal 2023 through cash advances. And to do that, it needs borrowing approval before the end of this calendar year. NYFA's approval shall be limited to only those items or projects that are eligible to be capitalized in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and have an original period of probable usefulness, which is really the useful life, of 5 years or greater. With that in mind, you're being asked to approve the proposed issuance of bonds, subject to the terms and conditions in the materials in the resolution, and I'm happy to address any questions you may have.
Thank you. So let's put this on the table first. Is there a motion to put the resolution, the bonding resolution, on the table for further discussion?
Yeah, I'll make that.
All right, Chris, I'll second it. All right, first, are there any questions to Connell?
No.
Okay,
It seems like this is consistent with the way we've been handling borrowing.
Standard, right? It's
Standard.
typically in December, before the end of the year, they ask for the
This is
approval
nothing
of the
not an
advances.
unusual request. It's not and it's definitely, we're not even doing cash flow borrowing. They haven't done that
It's
in a
not
while
a
because
cash
the
flow,
county has
correct. This
a lot
is
of cash. So.
capital cash advances.
Okay.
any other questions on the board? All right, Andy Persich, who is the county's budget director, just to indicate to the board that I did speak today with Andy, the county executive, Bruce Blakeman, and Arthur Walsh, the chief deputy county executive, and they requested an opportunity to speak about some of their concerns, and we'd be glad to hear you. Thank you for coming.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for letting me speak here. The item before you, in the advances that Connell presented to you, included one item where I think there was a change in how the methodology of how NYFA was going to treat some of the PPU life of certain items in the advances and in borrowing. Part of that, of those advances that are impacted, is public safety vehicles, which we traditionally have borrowed for in the past. The 23 budget, when it was presented, included me borrowing for those vehicles, which is a common practice in general municipalities. So I'm asking the board to rethink that PPU useful life of 3 years, or restricting that so that we can borrow for these vehicles, which was consistent with the 2023 budget. I'm here to field any questions. It's just a good borrowing practice, and we've done it in the past. And these cars and vehicles that we're requesting, we will keep more than 3 years.
What's the dollar amount in question?
I believe it's $7.5 million.
Are you requesting that we limit it just to the public safety vehicles?
I would, there's some other vehicles in there. If I could do it, I would do all of them, but if I could get the restriction lifted for the public safety vehicles, it would be greatly appreciated by me and the administration, so.
Are there any questions on the part of the board?
No. It's not the motion that's before us, though. We've made a different
So we
motion.
have to, right, so we'd have to, so what is the pleasure of the board? Because it's, public safety vehicles obviously are important, I would support amending it.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side, the county's got more cash than it's ever had, and could write a check for the $7.5 million
Yes,
tomorrow.
but
So it's not, there's no public safety risk here,
Right,
right? This is, it's a policy issue.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
I would say that paying stuff with cash has not been a common practice here, even though we are in better fiscal shape. We don't want to start borrowing for 30-year useful life, or paying cash for 30-year useful life. It's a generally accepted practice in the municipal market that you go long with money. So this is one of those things that I think that, it has, although it's on paper, it's 3 years, these assets will be held for more than that, so.
Okay. Okay, so Chris, do you want to offer an amendment to the resolution?
Yeah, what would, so can council help me? What provision would we be changing or striking?
I think if the intent is to make an exception for projects with 5 years or greater useful life, other than public safety vehicles, is that what you want to say?
I think that's what we'd like to say.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd like to say.
Not all
Does anybody-
5-year
I
projects?
support,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I would amend my own motion to exclude public safety vehicles from the 5-year limitation.
All right, so I maybe just would say 5 years or greater, other than public safety vehicles,
Fine.
at the end of the resolved clause,
Right. So I would make the motion that we change the language in that way, in that regard.
or to add the
I'll
word,
second that.
other than for public safety vehicles.
Yeah.
I'll second that. Do we vote on the amendment,
I think
Connell, first?
you have to,
You have to
yeah.
vote on the amendment.
All right, all those in favor,
Aye.
indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Now, I assume we have to vote on the whole
On the
thing.
motion itself.
Right.
yeah.
Correct.
So there's a vote on the motion itself. Can someone move it, please?
I already
Chris,
did.
you moved it?
It's already been moved, yeah.
Okay, and
It's on the-
seconded?
As
Yeah, so you
amended.
can just vote.
I
As
second.
amended.
Yeah.
Okay,
As
all
amended.
those in favor, are there any
As
further
amended.
comments?
Nope.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, now we've got a number of contracts to consider, so we want to go back to number 3. Martha, do we want to take them one at a time? How do we want to do this? I think we have, you've got 4, right?
Correct.
Yes. Separate the courthouse from the others, maybe, because we want to.
Okay, so,
Can you cover the courthouse request separately, since we probably, I know
so
at least
why
I
don't
have
we do,
questions on that.
why don't we do 3, 4, and 5,
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
So,
right?
Yeah.
yes, so item 29223, DF Stone Contracting. It's a contract with the Department of Public Works. The vendor was selected through an open competitive bidding process. The county received 3 bids. As per the bid documents, the county awarded a primary and a secondary contract. DF Stone is the primary vendor and is the lowest bidder. The secondary contract was awarded to Pratt Brothers, which has not been submitted to NIFA yet. The secondary contract will be only utilized if the primary contractor cannot perform all or part of the work. This is a requirement contract for the reconstruction and the watering of county drainage facilities. The term of the contract is 36 months from execution with a 1-year period extension and is valued at $16 million. The funding includes the renewal option. The contract will be funded with capital proceeds. Approval of this contract does not guarantee authorization for future borrowings. The next item will be 29023, H&L Contracting. This is also a contract with DPW, Department of Public Works. The vendor was selected through an open competitive bidding process. 8 bidders submitted proposals, and H&L Contracting was found to be the lowest bidder. The contract term is 24 to 26 months from the notice to proceed, and is valued at approximately $14.7 million. The contract will be reimbursed approximately $4.8 in federal aid and $1 million in state aid. The county share is $8.9 million, which will be funded with capital proceeds. Approval of this contract does not guarantee future borrowing authorization.
So Martha, on this one, should I go home a different way? Over the Charles Lindbergh Bridge, which is the way I usually.
Well, I was getting to the scope, yes. So the contract is for the rehabilitation of the Charles Lindbergh Boulevard Bridge over the Meadowbrook Parkway.
Yeah.
So I think that for today is safe
That's
to
the
go
right out of the parking
the
lot.
regular way.
Is it okay, Ken?
Ken?
All right, all right.
See how the vote goes.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Okay, next item is 28923, H&L Contracting. Also a contract with DPW. The vendor was selected through an open competitive bidding process. 3 bids were submitted, and H&L Contracting was found to be the lowest bidder. The term of the contract is 365 days from the notice to proceed and is valued at approximately $7 million. The contract will be reimbursed approximately $3.6 million in federal aid. The county share is in the amount of approximately $3.4 and will be funded with capital proceeds. Once more, approval of this contract does not guarantee approval of future borrowing. So those are the 3 DPW.
Chairman, I'll move them as a block.
Okay, Chris moved it as a block. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's seconded. Is there any questions or comments before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor of the 3 contracts indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, now we've got the E&A restoration contract, the change order.
So EAN Restoration is change order number 51. This is a change order for a contract between ENA Restoration and the Department of Public Works for the Family and Matrimonial Court Complex, Phase 2. The work includes the removal and replacement of existing roofing, coping, soffits, and fascia, which were installed during the Phase 1 of the project. Around the entire exterior perimeter of the building. The change order is valued at approximately $6.6 million. Any questions, Commissioner Arnold?
Mr. Chairman, if you will,
Please.
this is on the courthouse?
Family Mac Court.
Yeah, and when I saw the materials, it seemed like we're replacing things that were installed. Obviously, the building hasn't yet opened, so is there any, are we seeking redress from the prior contractors?
Yes.
I mean, it seems kind of odd to
We
be.
have taken outside counsel on, and
Okay.
they're looking at root causes.
So you need the cash in the meantime because you can't wait for that to finish the building,
Okay.
but there is an attempt to,
Yes.
because if you're pulling, soffits and coping off a building that isn't open yet, that's a bigger issue, you'd imagine.
Correct.
And it's not just because you don't like the color,
That is correct.
it's a safety or construction soundness issue.
Yes.
Just to inform the board that a couple of weeks ago, I think, myself, Evan, Martha, and went over to meet with the commissioner and with the county attorney, Judge Adams, and staff about the building. And they have made a commitment now that they will send us a regular reporting of the progress of the building. We obviously discussed with them the litigation to be assured, as you pointed out, Chris, that the proper litigation is being pursued. We talked a little bit about the litigation, but we also want to make it clear from NYPA's perspective that because of the tremendous cost overruns and delays, we want to keep up to date to make sure. Right now, the plan is for the building to open in about a year. And we want to make sure that as we sign these change orders, that progress is being made. And that meeting, I think, was very successful. Martha, I don't know if you want to add to it.
No, we're just waiting for the report that I spoke to Ken, and he's in the process of getting it ready for us.
And it's a regular reporting, Chris, and other members of the board. So we'll be able to follow that building because it has been kind of like a tapeworm to the county. And we want to make sure that progress is being made, and we were assured of that, and we're going to be getting written monthly reports on that going forward.
On that basis, Mr. Chairman, I will move that we approve item 6.
Okay, I'll second it. Any further comments? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, the motion carries. Now, Carl, the amendment to the contract with Alvarez and Marcel, which we did talk a little bit about before, but
Before,
obviously, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, before Carl proceeds,
sorry.
Director Megachi has informed me that he is thinking about proposing an amendment to this
Okay.
resolution, and perhaps we should defer until after executive session before this is then taken up by the
You want
board.
to talk about it in executive
Yes.
session?
I do.
Okay, so we'll defer. Carl, we'll
You got a break.
take this up after the executive session. Okay, next is transfer and assignment of general counsel responsibilities. Evan?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to take a few minutes to discuss Jeremy Wise. After more than 23 years of dutifully and diligently serving NIFA as General Counsel and Chief Borrowing Officer, Jeremy will be leaving us shortly to begin his next phase of life in retirement. This is Jeremy's last meeting, at least in person. And I emphasize in person because I assume that Jeremy, tongue-in-cheek, I assume that Jeremy will watch our meeting webcasts as a diversion from his retirement routine of swimming laps, his attentiveness to gardening, which is fostered by his regular visits to the botanical gardens, extra quality time with his wife, children, and grandchildren, and his ongoing search for rock specimens to add to his collection, and his nascent exploits on the pickleball court. And by nascent, I mean embryonic.
Pickleball? Pickleball is a cult. All right, go ahead.
So jokes at Jeremy's expense aside, I want to thank Jeremy for his time at NIFA. We've been by each other's side since NIFA's inception in the summer of 2000, and over that extended period, he has been such a great colleague and a terrific mentor to myself, and I think to others. I consider Jeremy to be a good friend and the kind of person I could rely on for great advice, to help me steer the office, to offer unfiltered opinions, some of them actually legal opinions, and to share a joke or two along the way. On behalf of the office, I think I can say Jeremy's presence at NIFA will be missed, both personally and professionally. And without further ado, I am recommending that the board consider action item 8.
I just want to,
Sure.
if I may, I want to say thank you to Jeremy, and I hope he will leave some of his wisdom behind for others. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you.
Yeah, a moment of privilege as well.
Sure, of course.
So, Jerry, it's not everybody who can say that in a space of a decade, maybe 15 years, you think about the transactions that you were a part of, right? Refinancing all of our auction rate securities in the middle of the world's largest global financial crisis since the Great Depression, going through the control period, refinancing county debt in the middle of the global pandemic. Those are a lot of milestones. So thank you for your guidance and your steady hand and your counsel, but also your expertise.
Okay, Jeremy, thank you. Evan, you want to describe the
Yes, so
resolution?
my pleasure. As I mentioned, so action item 8, tab 8, Jeremy Wise is resigning from NIFA on effective the end of business January 5th of 2024. There are certain responsibilities he has been appointed to or undertaken over the years, such as serving as NIFA's ethics officer and freedom of information law officer. So to preserve the continuity of services, I recommend that the directors transfer and assign all of Jeremy's responsibilities, both individually and as general counsel, to NIFA's deputy general counsel, Connell Daniel.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for the directors to conduct an executive session pursuant to Public Officers Law 105 to consider the financial history of a particular corporation and certain matters related to employment and compensation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. There's a second.
I want to point out, Mr. Chairman, that may include discussion of item 7, which we'll come back and talk about when we return.
Yes, thank
Previously
you.
not part of the motion.
Yep.
Okay.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We'll be back.
Thumbs up. Mr. Chairman, I move that we return from the executive session in which we just discussed the matters that were conditional upon our motion to go into executive session.
Okay, I'll second that.
No, and of course, I advise the board and the public that no votes were taken, no actions were taken in the course of that meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
All right, well, I guess the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Do we want to report on,
Well, you have action item 7. We have to.
Right.
Take up the
Yeah,
offer.
That's
see,
what I mean.
right.
Oh, Carl.
Carl.
Thank you. This is a proposal or a request to amend the contract that was approved by the board on September 21st from the amount of $350,000 to $600,000 with an additional $100,000 as a conditional. And this relates back to the earlier conversation that we had with regards to the revision to our budget. And this is the same $350,000 that we had requested as an increase to our budget for 2024.
Okay, and was there a change made? Mo, do you want to describe that?
Yes, so the change I discussed with A&M was that the 3% administrative fee would be removed.
All right, and I made a note to have that removed.
And with that change, I would move to approve that contract.
I'll second it,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, and Carl referred to it, but it is the same amount by which we just adjusted our own budget, so it's wholly within our budget.
Correct, thank you.
Perfect.
Is there any,
Well,
okay.
I'm sorry, just Jeremy or Connell, do they have to first approve the amendment?
Well, it wasn't even made in that form, though. He's making it as an original motion minus the 3%.
That's fine.
Okay, so, yeah, because it wasn't on the floor, I don't think. Okay.
Does the 3% relate to the entire 600,000 or just the second half?
No, the whole.
The entire
The
amount.
whole thing.
The whole thing.
Paid
So it's a total of $700,000, not $700,000 plus 3%.
To the entire 700,000.
Correct.
Which would be.
So you may recoup some of that in future billings.
$721,000. That will be expressed to us after every month.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or further comments by the board?
None.
Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Is there any other business to come before the board tonight?
I think, Mr. Chairman, we need to adjourn, and I move that we do.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Here's the question. What if we voted no?
We have to stay all night.
Okay. Aye.
Oh, no.
Thank,
I have a meeting, I'm running.
You can also adjourn, if everybody quit, you'd have no...